How do we normally start a conversation?
Okay. What are you wearing?
Right.
And then you ask me what I'm wearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you wearing pants?
Yes. Yeah. How's it going, mate?
It's good. How are you?
Yeah, all good. I'm in isolation booth 1 on day 11.
It's a very that room to me is very calming in a very chaotic world. It's a lot of white, a lot of pastoral, maybe idyllic post-Brexit paintings of what Britain could be if it were truly great.
So what I want is cricket on the village green and no Europeans. That's what I'm...
And that's what this podcast is really all about. We've lured you in with film reviews, but we're really here to talk about what's showing up on the front pages of Stormfront, Daily Caller. You've got a quick takeaway on the latest Glenn Beck vlog, don't you?
Yeah. There's subtext, people. There's subtext. No, welcome to episode 1, Across the Pond. Hilariously titled because I live in the United Kingdom and you live...
I live in Canada. I live in, you would say Toronto,
yes,
which would immediately destroy any credibility you used to have as a young, interesting person. It's Toronto, Canada. And yeah, Across the Pond. I think this is really cool. It's a good title because this is in many ways a maiden voyage for us. We don't know where this is going to go. We've wanted to do this for years, and it's just taken a little pandemic for us to get started, right?
Yeah, and that's that's where I read today that Newton came up with the theory of gravity during the plague in 1665. So really, I'm comparing us to Newton. So we picked, well, really, it's films that I haven't seen, which is every film except any film with Nicolas Cage. So we've decided to choose the 72. I should know the year, right? 1972 classic.
I think it at least get the title right. The rest can fix in post.
The rest you can IMDb. So we're gonna talk about for at least 7 minutes The Godfather.
That I cannot do. I'll give you anything you ask. We've known each other many years, but this is the first time you ever came to the council for help. I can't remember the last time that you invited me to your house for a cup of coffee. Even though my wife is godmother to your only child. But let's be frank, you never wanted my friendship. And you were afraid to be in my debt.
That was a great clip from
amazing.
The Godfather.
Yeah.
Incredible. I remember watching that scene last night when I watched The Godfather for the first time, which is an accomplishment, I think, because if you can ignore this cinematic kind of masterpiece for 34 years, like, what else have you been doing with your life? I don't have it. Like, what's the excuse to have ignored The Godfather for more than a quarter of one's life? How do you do that?
But that's interesting for you. I mean, I feel I could ignore it quite happily because... As it doesn't have Nick Cage.
There's no robots flying around transforming into cars or anything.
No. There's no pig in a city. So I haven't seen it. But I feel someone of your stature, should have seen The Godfather by now.
Yeah, I was surprised you went for the film because I remember, from what I learned of it, at no point in the runtime was there a character that said, I'm getting too old for this shit. So I'm just like, is James really going to take to this film? Yeah. No, it's true. There's a lot of big kind of tentpole films in the canon that I haven't seen. Another one, like, we have a lot. We can watch a lot of, like, Spartacus. Never seen Spartacus. Never seen. I might as well have not seen Gone with the Wind. Casablanca ages ago. Like, these big kind of touchstones. No, haven't seen them. I'm into, like, a film that, like, 7 people have seen and, like, one dude on, like, The Onion AV Club wrote about, and then I see it and I'm really cool and no one else has seen it, and then when they see it, it's not cool anymore. That's me. So I have watched a lot of films that have borrowed heavily from The Godfather. So that was one of the things I was worried about getting into this movie was am I going to know, not everything that happens, no way you can know everything that happens, but like the major kind of plot points and stuff like that, would they be spoiled? Because it's just been a part of like the wallpaper of culture forever. Like the posters, like you said, apparently like early 90s like gangster rap and hip hop was largely like kind of informed from the style from the Godfather, like Puff Daddy and Mace and all like the big suits and sunglasses. It was all borrowed from that film.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's one, something I was worried about, and B, it's just like, how the hell did I avoid this film for 34 years? Yeah. I don't know how I avoided it for this long.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, knowing all you know from your, MTV Cribs and all that stuff, was there anything that genuinely, before we talk about how we felt about the film, was there any moments that genuinely surprised you? Like, did you know about a horse's head? Did you know about a gun behind a toilet? Did you know about this stuff? Or were those moments, which I think were like moments that made this film kind of like controversial and illuminating and like gotta see or whatever, any of those things new for you at all? Or did you kind of see them coming?
I knew all of the, I think just by osmosis, I knew the I don't know, plot twist, if you call them that, plot twist, but what happened. I mean, like, by the way, we're going to say to everyone, there's spoilers.
If you haven't seen The Godfather, like, really, there's, sorry. Like, you should turn it off right now if you don't want any spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can spoil a film from the 70s.
Right. And not get into trouble.
I don't know who cares, but maybe leave a comment if you care.
Okay.
But yeah, back to famous scenes. We'll talk about the horse scene, because that horse head that's possibly the most iconic scene from that film, I would suggest. Right?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Which I thought was quite good.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have, if you were in the 70s, I think you would have thought that's quite a shocking scene. And then they revealed the horse's head. I don't think they spent much money on that horse's head, I've got to be honest with you.
Well, I assume that like back in the day when you would see a film projected in this way, like it was the equivalent of like, I don't know, like, 340p on a YouTube video or something. So maybe like you could see the outline of like the thing or whatever. If you watched it in like glistening high-res Blu-ray DVD quality, yeah, this thing looks like it was carried in from like I don't know, like Mr. Dress Up or something, which is do you know Mr. Dress? It's a Canadian children's show. Yeah, it's not the most realistic horse head, but I think that I still think they conveyed, like, I was still shocked. Like, my girlfriend was watching it next to me, and like we're both just like holy shit, look at that thing, look at the blood and everything, and the juxtaposition of like this bloody animal thing and this the gold sheets and everything, and anyway, I'm not very articulate right now, but I think it was effective. But yeah, it was kind of hilarious, the prop master that day. But
I was thinking when I watched it, because I I thought it was quite intense, obviously, and the amount of blood and everything, and he obviously the chap realizes, the Walt's character realizes. And then it showed the head, and it did look like it had, been ripped off a teddy bear or something. It was quite amusing to me. But then if you compare it to, Alien, which is not miles away in terms of time span, if you watch that Alien going through the chest scene, that still now holds up as being, apart from when they show the Alien, because it looks like, again, a toy, but that holds up as being quite scary, whereas I wasn't scared by it.
Yeah, so I mean, it didn't have the kind of emotional punch that it might have had in the 70s. Was there anything else that was like, okay, for me, I love how I set a question up for you, and then I will just proceed to answer it myself.
Yeah, it's kind of guy
it's kind of guy I am. So for me, I was genuinely very tense and anxious, not like watching the film through like a lattice work of my fingers, but like I was tense when he was going to the bathroom to find the gun to go out and kill the the police commissioner and the Turk or whatever that was, and then he actually he didn't do it, like he didn't shoot them there in that moment, but sat down and like proceeded to have more dinner. That to me, I was like, okay, this is like Breaking Bad level of anxiety. And that was one of the fun things for me, because I knew that this scene was coming. I'd seen spoofs on it. I'd read about it before. I didn't know at what point he actually reached out and shot the guys. So when he didn't do it, I was like, well, maybe we're okay. Maybe the scene goes in a different direction. And then when he finally, kablamoed the two guys, very satisfying and very like, okay, cool. This film won't be ruined for me.
The deaths were quite, like, the gunshot wounds were quite visceral, weren't they? I was shocked.
They were kind of hilarious too. Yeah. Like, didn't you find that the bit where the guy goes after? By the way, if it's not obvious already, the names in this movie, I've got maybe two: Michael and Don Corleone. I don't know the rest of them. I'm sorry, I can't do it. That was one of the things for me. Like, all the vowels in the last names of the characters, and just I can't just call them like. I don't know. Like, that's the great thing about
Mr. Pink,
Reservoir Dogs, right? Yeah, we just give him colors and we can all remember it. So I don't know his name. I know that he was the son of maybe the eldest son. He gets blown up by like that toll booth.
Oh yeah,
one of the most ridiculous slow motion. Like I'm pretty sure you got him, guys. You could stop
by like
firing
400 bullets.
But do you think that they shot him up that much? Was that like a symbol of like, you're not going to be able to do an open casket? Was that like a mob thing? They wanted to really kind of like, riddle him with bullets or something so that, the family wouldn't...
I think it came from the fact they shot, and again, saying the names, the main guy, Don Corleone, I want to say.
Yeah,
I really watched this film well. They shot him 5 times in the back and he seemed to survive somehow. So I think they thought with this guy, if we riddle him with like 300 bullets, he won't come back.
He's like 30 years younger. We got to make sure we really get him.
Yeah, he's got to get the ratios right, isn't he?
Yeah.
I found it funny that they sent him to Italy and there was a whole waste of time watching him get married to some woman who seemed to be kind of like a mute statue, from what I can gather.
Right. That was a major issue that I had, was just like, no one's going to talk about this like side wife he had in Italy that got blown up. Like no one we're all just going to keep moving on. And even when they had that table scene where all the the mob bosses were like negotiating the term for the next like 30 years of the legacy of the family and the drug war and all that stuff, Don Cannelloni, I can't remember his last name, he says, if anything happens to my son Michael, like so help me, and but they'd already tried to kill him.
Yeah,
and I was like, is no one at the table going to be like, hey, full disclosure? You know what I mean?
It kind of felt like they just had budget to go to Italy.
Yeah,
and they were like, well, why not?
Also, in the version of the film that I had, I don't know if it was like this for you, but I was wondering, is this an artistic choice? Because the subtitles were not hard-coded, so I had no idea what they were saying when they were in it. Oh, wait a minute, it was like that for you too?
Yeah, same as me. So it was subtitled for 90% of the Italian, which obviously I don't speak. I don't think you speak.
No.
And then in Italy it just sort of disappeared, and I was like, oh, and I was playing around with the subtitles, and I was like, if I've lost this, I can be missing pivotal points in the plot. What I think I missed was, your daughter's hot, can I marry her? I think I missed that in subtitles.
Okay, so we talked about the trip to Italy. We talked about a trip to Italy. We talked about the horse's head. We talked about I talked about the scene where he offs the two guys in the restaurant after some what I'm assuming was some really good food. I don't know what they ate, but they were eating really aggressively. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, and he said it's the best Italian restaurant in was it Brooklyn?
Did you notice that food in this film is it's a thing?
Yeah.
Like when they're eating Chinese food, they're the one dude who's about to show the other guy how to shoot a gun. His fingers are covered in Chinese food grease, and they're just nose diving into lasagna. And the one dude's talking about how to make pasta sauce with sausage.
God,
it's a thing.
He made a pasta sauce in about 25 seconds as well.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
Very impressive. You're about to say something.
No. I what I liked was the wine. They kept opening obviously really nice wine all the time, and they were drinking wine in probably 80% of the scenes, and I quite like that.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go into a firefight, you should have had half a bottle of red wine.
Exactly. That Italian courage.
Yeah. But what I thought really was Marlon Brando, is obviously main chap, was just
the main chap.
He's the main chap in the film. he was so much better than everyone else.
It's interesting that you say that, because one of the things I was thinking about, this character has been he's been just parodied. He's all over the culture. I think, like, you know, Disney's done like characters after him and everything, and it's such a ridiculous character, but it works for the film. And I was wondering, if it worked for the 70s, would it hold up now? Because sometimes you watch these old movies, and like what was at that time like a very endearing, charming person is totally fucking annoying now. Yeah. Like, just because acting was different back then. I was really impressed with everyone's acting in this film. It was to me, it was like acting for this time. Because in the 70s, I feel like it was very theater and kind of stagey and over the top and like blah. And now you watch Mad Men, you watch Breaking Bad, you watch these slow kind of cable shows, and it's all very understated and very careful and like micro. And this film is all that. And I think that's one of the reasons why the acting is so compelling in this film, is because it was, I don't know, maybe different for back then.
I was confused at one point. He gets hit by the police officer, or the captain, right? Mm-hmm. And he gets obviously an issue with his face. He's like broken jaw, I don't know what it is, broken cheekbone. But then the next scene, he's in Italy, and he's still got the face issue. And then he's married someone, and he's still got it.
That was one of those things that took me out completely of what the hell was happening. And I, like, maybe it's because I didn't have anything else to focus on without subtitles. I was like, all right, let's look what's on the screen. And yeah, you couldn't help but notice that he had a shiner that was like sometimes getting worse.
I know, like
better.
Weeks later. It's just like, what's happening?
And you hear from someone else, because after his little like chicky poo, Diane Keaton comes to see him. And they're like, where is he? He's like, well, it's been a year. And they cut back to him a year later. He still has a bruise. Like, it didn't make any sense to me.
Right, so Godfather, we're going to review it. I was trying to think of an isolation-based review scale.
Yeah.
I couldn't really think of one that wasn't horrifically awful and offensive to millions of people at the moment. So we'll just go out of 5.
Yeah.
That works.
I'd give it like 5 like decapitated horse heads, or...
Oh, good one. Good one. No, because every film we review, we'll give it out of... Can we go out of 10? Because 5 doesn't seem like enough.
Okay, are we going scientific? Are we adding like 5 point something, or just like whole numbers?
Okay, let's do this then. Let's do... And we're obviously not winging this at all. We'll do...
No.
Out of 10, how good was it? And then we'll do, would you recommend?
Okay. And what's the recommend is just like a yes or no?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, am I supposed to go first?
Do what you want, mate.
Okay. I would give it an 8.9 out of 10.
Seriously.
Yeah. It's. I think there are so many firsts in this film. I don't know the whole canon of like 70s films and or whatever, but I feel like this film inspired so many directors, so many writers to go off and make, incredible movies. The sequence at the very end when they're giving the baptism to his godson, and like all these other kind of wires are coming out or whatever, that kind of thing, that sequence, that montage or whatever, I think that started with The Godfather. And it became this like staple that people have used ever since. So it kind of templatized all these amazing, tropes, directorial tropes. And also, to get away with 3 hours, it didn't feel like 3 hours to me in the same way that The Irishman felt like 20 hours. So I just feel like they did all these things with a $6 million budget, because I looked it up. And the acting was so understated and original for the time. This huge cast of characters. The only reason it doesn't get that extra, 1.1 or whatever, is just because the trip to Italy was weird. The female characters in this film are so poorly written and developed. Yeah. Like, it's embarrassing. But overall, I just found it to be to hold up and to be totally watchable and enjoyable, and fun and funny and weird and wonderful. And I don't know, dude, 8.9.
Oh, nice. And you would recommend?
Yeah. If you haven't seen The Godfather, you should see The Godfather, because it's just one of those movies you should probably see before you die. I think. But what about you? Out of 10, and would you recommend?
Out of 10?
Oh, here we go. Here comes the old battle axe here.
You were going for something big, and that's what came out.
That's all I got. The butcher. Here comes the butcher to cut this film down to size.
I give it 7.5 out of 10.
Wow.
And it was much better than I thought it would be. It went much quicker than I thought it would go when I saw the 3-hour running time, which I got a bit depressed about, I've got to be honest, at the start of the film. And I thought Brando's performance was very, very good. I think, as you mentioned, I was nervous of how the 70s would play out in the 2020s. Overall, iconic moments. I actually quite enjoyed it, and I definitely, as you said, I recommend it to someone who hasn't seen it. I think it's not a film I'd watch again.
No, unless you love the genre. That's the thing. I don't care about the mobster mafia genre. Right. I don't watch Scorsese's films. I don't like. So I've never seen The Sopranos, even though that's probably going to be next in quarantine here. But I don't. But I'm assuming if you are big into mobster movies and you've never seen this before, like, what are you waiting for? I'm sure it's got a lot of replay factor for you. In fact, I've read a lot of reviews and all that stuff say that, like, watching it over and over, you realize new things.
Cool. So I would definitely recommend people that haven't seen it before.
Okay. Did you pick last time, or did I pick?
No, I picked Godfather.
Okay. I would say that the next one we should watch should be the original Wicker Man.
That's like, what, 70s again?
70s, yeah. Nick Cage was just a speck in his father's eye when this. Actually, he might have been around. He might have been watching this film thinking, I should really remake this with a bigger budget in 30 years. Yeah. But anyway, the original, not the Nick Cage one. I'm sorry. I know you love Nick Cage.
No, it's all right. We'll do Wicker Man next. I think we've nailed Godfather. No, but everyone, thanks for watching. See you next time.
Okay. Bye.